Hi, I'm Daniel, and tomorrow is the 10-year anniversary of Gravity Falls' first episode, and it's become a staple of animated shows since. Every story-driven show is meant to compete with Gravity Falls and Avatar: The Last Airbender. I only watched the episodes in 2016, so I wasn't there when the show was still airing. Anyway, the show is amazing. The mystery is good and balls to top, but that's not just it. The characters are mostly great, even ones that seem yes to just because of how well written and funny both Zeus and Stan are. It's also a superb comedy, especially in season 1, that would work as just comedy. The show almost exactly seems to fit my sense of humour, with so many jokes in every single episode. Season 2 is way better, and that will be seen by the Yes for expanding the universe in great stories and having a major story arc. Second half of the season clearly needed an extra 5-10 episodes, causing certain plots to be rushed and not everything is perfect. This show deserves its classic status, and it's hard to find weaker episodes, and what are the best. But I'm still going to rank every episode for the anniversary in one of my youngest videos. I plan to have ranking all episodes of a show being a series on this channel. I already did it a couple times like with Avatar. Anyway, there's 30 episodes including the finale as one episode. What is my yes? I decided on what I thought was right. I got that quite close, and this video will have spoilers for the show. 38 Roadside Attraction. I have to agree this is the worst, but I had a hard time deciding because I like the concept of Stan going on a road trip to destroy other tourist trap places. That part of the episode is great, and there's good comedy like the devastation of the guy with the upside down house being right side up. But the dipper plotline is the worst thing this show has ever done. The plot is very face palming in the opposite of a good way. Normally I like Candy and Grenda, but having a force your plot doesn't work. Dipper wasn't even serious with any of these, it was barely even flirting, so I don't think he did that much wrong. Also, having all the girls be there is big contrivance, but you just needed about 2 or 3 to get the point. It's also the only episode in the last portion without Ford, and it feels like a waste of time over the very painted story. If there was more episodes, it would be better than this being 2 episodes for the multi-part finale. Even the Funny Stew Show had a better end card cut from it. Not every place will be this young, this is just the worst episode. 37 Little Dipper. No episodes are bad, but the show should be lucky I'm getting something I already call above average. Still, this is a weaker Gideon appearance for his plan not being interesting. Also, the whole plot about heights, so I never understand why it's cared about that much. It executes the shrinking plot by the numbers, which are unusual for Gravity Falls. There's good comedy like in the start, but it's forgettable in a weaker episode. 36 Yam Before Swine. Dinosaurs could have been done far more interesting, instead of an episode that's almost forgotten about. There's 2 conflicts, the individual are okay, but so much of the episode is arguing. Main saving grace this episode is Old Man McGucket, who joins them and is probably one of the best characters, especially how I took him in season 2. This deserves a title most forgettable episode, that I wouldn't be surprised if someone forgot about it. 35 The Yas Mabel Corn. They were so close to get more right, but they were trying to claim Mabel is really pure. Most people either hate or love Mabel, but I'm indifferent because I like her but can see a problem. Variety being a subjective thing should have been the main message here. There's also the side plot that reveals that Bill Cipher will be the main villain and not just one with 2 appearances. He knew Ford well and tricked him. This was foreshadowed in A Tale of Two Stands. This episode is made good by that, although the main plot's problems. 34 Boys Crazy. This show has very little weak episodes. An episode don't have much major problems with is in the bottom 5. This shows boy bands actually made in a cloning booth. This is a type of funny concept which is why I love this show so much. Robbie's subplot isn't as good, but gives more character traits to Wendy. Also, the stocking food for the apocalypse shine is comedy gold. 33 Carpet DM. Volleyball episode 1 the weakest, but not because of the swap part. The first half of the episode is a bit boring, but I think the comedy picks up. Body swap plots are better when you get multiple characters involved in the swap, which is why the ending bit the best part. Also, Seuss being a pig is a funny side plot. 32 The Inconveniencing. This was one of the earlier episodes to set things up, and for that it worked. It has the Yambi dance, a proper introduction for Wendy and for her friend group. Setting of an abandoned convenience store is well designed, being creepy yet light and ominous. Variants in their backstory is also a great twist, and Mabel is off to the side in a way that works plot-wise. This is yo but still a good episode. 31 The Gulf War. A good way to have a Gulf episode for the vaping characters and foreshadowing Pacifica's redemption. The War of the Gulf Tribes is funny, but how dramatic it is to them is probably one of my favourite end card jokes with the musical being performed to Pacifica Trainer. I remember this used to be higher, but it doesn't do that much better compared to other episodes. 30. You've Got. This episode is very overhated because the comedy is extremely on top. The festival is stunt track during one of the best Gravity Falls shows. The way Mabel is trying to find a match for Robbie is good fandom commentary. The character of Yulka is entertaining and carries the episode. However, I have to agree the story isn't that good. Mabel shows her annoying side with positivity charge and the ending. Keeping the Yud potion isn't how to end the story, even with Journal 3 having to confirm the potion goes away after a while. It was so easy to fix having them undo the potion and have the relationship still continue. And then have the You've Got experience. Honestly, I can't see why it's not that yikes, but I enjoyed this episode. 29. Dipper vs. Manliness. The episode is sometimes called weak, but it's great how well the message works. The Manitors are so extreme, I hope no one got offended by them. The episode does a good job discussing the concept of masculinity. The toxic standards and being strong isn't all to it. The conclusion of standing up for yourself instinctive youths being manly works too. The episode is also good at helping to show Dipper's positive traits, with him outsmarting the Manitors. Pair this with two good songs and funny jokes and you get a really good episode. It still isn't one of the best for being in the 10 weakest. 28. Bottomless Pit. The rap round could make this seem like a botty episode, but they tell stories or trails of horror style. This is a way to still use plots that couldn't be made into a full episode. To take some honorable mentions, we know the Yasmin is canon, but I'm unsure about the other two stories. They all aren't one of the best in the video. This is a good episode. 27. Little Gift Shop of Horrors. Here's the second anthology episode. It was actually the first episode I saw, and it worked introducing the show quite well. If you're asking what the second was, well, it was Dipper Mail vs. the Future, the actual penultimate episode. The first two stories are fine, but I can guess there wasn't enough for a full episode. The K major one at the end is the best for the comedy in the segment. The wrap round to the episode are also pretty great, with a dark and comedic ending. 26. The Legend of the Gobblewonker. This was the first episode produced and the second in order, and it helps introduce the four main characters and Monster of the Week type stories. The sea adventure is fun, and Sans Side has a lot of funny moments. The whole episode is great comedic wise, especially the running joke with the different cameras. I sometimes wonder how did that joke not get old and keep being funny. Just a solid episode all year round. 25. Irrational Treasure. I had to put the episode down some slots for how on the nose the message is. It's like the message of the first episode of Our House before the show yet came to subvert that. Sometimes a weird solution is good, but your ideas aren't even trying, they just happen to work because of contrivance. Aside from that, this is a great episode with featuring the Peaceoffs in their biggest role in rewatching. I really like them. Also, how is it not super obvious they were gay? Of course, the press is amazing and also thought the episode was spectacular comedy. 24. Submarine. On rewatch, you already knew that most episodes being great meant some have to be lower, but which changed? This used to be high on the list, but it's not an amazing episode. The icon does a Halloween in summer by writing around it, and the submarine tricks is a great villain in both comedy wise and being threatening. The icon is based off No Face from Spirited Away. It also foreshadows the theme of them growing up, although it's not one of the best episodes. 23. The Time Traveler's Pig. Yet the concepts explored here are trying to change when it's destined to happen. The only time it worked was when models were sacrificed, and I think the right choice was made. First set of course has many great comedic set pieces, and this is just a great episode. 22. The Deep End. The Peel has many great jokes throughout, especially Stan's plotline. Mamando is better than Yob or Mabel love interest, and I don't mind the magical elements here. Aside from the being a mermaid, it's a good slice of life episode. 21. Into the Bunker. This furthers the plot of discovering the author, and is an unsettling look at the monster. Instead of the usual comedic view, it is showing season 2 is going to be a different experience, with how scary the shapeshifter is. I also like how it ended Dipper and Wendy, and the talking is a bit awkward, that's what makes it so great. It is calm after the action, and I like the lines in it. A great follow-up to the season 2 premiere. 20. Headhunters. Since this is the third episode, this very well introduces all three of the main characters. Dan's cheapness and attachment to another version of him is built up. Mabel is shown to have tie-ins to designing figurines and backing up Dipper, who is being a detective that gets overlooked. Investigating shows the background characters and what the town will be like, and the villains represent what type of season this will be like. It's also backed up with great comedy, in an episode that I'm sad just about made onto the lower half of this ranking. 19. Dungeons, Dungeons and More Dungeons. Parodies of things I won't name is very underdone, but this fits Gravity Falls style as a way for Dipper and Ford to bond. All but one of Ford's appearances made on the upper half. Stan, Mabel, and Gwen are competing in the right for wanting to watch Drug Detective, but I think the show agrees with this. I like how the title just Dungeons 3 times in a row too. 18. The Hand That Rocks the Mabel. The Gideon introductory episode is funny and one of the best songs. Don't relate to the plot either way, but I can be able to understand the hard situation Mabel is in. So already they should want to remain friends and not disappoint someone. It gets worse when the people watching pressuring her to say yes and give him a chance. It says a lot that the old woman saying if she says no I'll die of a heart attack is barely an exaggeration. It's a great episode. I like although it's a Mabel episode, Dipper still has a big role here. 17. Seuss and the Real Girl. This parodies 2 games in one episode, but that's not what stands out to me. It's Seuss who has to be my favourite character, even after a spectacular cast like in Gravity Falls. Title is clever as it cover refers to both Gifney and Melody, although one wouldn't be true. 16. Dipper and Mabel versus the Future. As a standalone episode, you could argue Mabel's plot repetitive. Dipper's plot could have done more with aliens since it's one of the most common magical elements. It's not the most entertaining episode with yes comedy, although it's definitely still there, but this is an important episode. It shows time passing and things changing in a big way for the characters. Ford's apprenticeship is an interesting concept. The argument scene has them both be understandable. 3 sets up the finale and how the end is coming. It's my favourite end character is not a joke. 15. The Stan Terrain Candidate. Down the Running for Mayor is a comedic concept that writes itself. It ties the Stan's comparison to Ford, but it's mainly this time for the comedy. The Gravity Falls ceremony for the final mayor is funny, it's ridiculous, in a great episode. Don't have much more to say of the most of Stan's design to genius. 14. Double Dipper. This is an early episode, but uses the clone player in a very interesting way. Shows how Dipper's excessive planning is stopping him, and the interaction with the clones are great. There's also a lot of really good moments in the party. 13. Sock Opera. Bill Cipher comes back and tests Dipper and Mabel. It starts off with a typical Mabel weird love interest story, but this time about sock puppets with a more interesting side plot. But Bill tricks Dipper and possesses him, making a fandom born. Ignoring that, Bill as a human is a funny concept. The whole episode is, especially the puppet show itself. Sock Opera finally calls out Mabel for her actions, which is great. I wish I should brought back at them because I really like this plot element. Something like this was kind of missing from the finale. 12. Boss Mabel. I think this episode is underrated of all the comedy of Mabel being the boss. Seuss's question mark works in theory, but not in practice. Same applies to having real danger in the Mystery Shack. This type of monster better fits the light-hearted story with comedic lines. Mabel running the shack is a fun idea, same with the side plot. Stan gets almost every answer right in the game show, except the last one. I liked the episode, and especially the Stan Wrong song. Considered doing a parody last thing at the end of the video, but didn't. 11. A Tale of Two Stans. There's an extra couple of minutes in this episode because it has so much to tell. The author of the journals and Stan's born brother returns, and it's clear he doesn't like Stan. He tells a story of what happened between both of them that tied up some loose ends from the previous episode. The part where they fell was great for both being a bit in the wrong. Stan didn't perfectly sabotage invention, it was an accident that yucked Vix, but he still said there was a good thing, which is the issue. God should have backed them up and not getting be kicked out, but you can understand the opportunity missed. The real answer is the parents were about to stand, and it explains how he acts. There's other stuff that happened after that, with Dip and Mabel and Seuss being a good audience. Mabel's comment about how they might end up like that for both the rest of the season, and shows that she isn't always the positive one. This episode may be extremely story heavy, but doesn't forget comedy with Stan's ads for the flashbacks and Seuss explaining it all to Wendy after. Only just missed out in the top 10. 10. Fight Fighters. The character of Runway is great for how boring and goal set he is. The game's line, "You kill my father again," shows how routine he is in the power. There's your superb comedy, especially in the side plot to plan guy and say that's why I keep 10 guns, in case the mayor tries to get in here with a Yada. There's very good use of arcade games coming to life that makes me ignore how Robbie is the worst of the important characters. 9. Society of the Blind Eye. I think part of Gravity Falls was written as it went on. Stuff like Ford and Bill were from the start, but they managed to great 80% McGuck it. The idea of there being an underground society of mind-raising people helps explain this town and it's sad what happened across the years to him. Also, the rap song is funny of how dumb the lyrics are, and how Wendy tries to forget it. 8. Scary Oak. The season 2 premiere that reintroduces things, while establishing how it will be different with Stan revealing how they knew about this town. His character is so well written with how he seemed like the dumb parental figure at first, but Ray was trying to protect them. The zombie plot is fun, there's a great song, and I like green goes from party colours. Thing higher than the premiere is the finale. 7. Weirmageddon. I put them all count as 1, although episode 2 is weaker. This is probably because the second half is sometimes 1 episode and sometimes 2. It's different whether there's 3 and 4. Anyway, this will be brief, but rewatch I realised I could make a full video on this arc, but in short, this was a fantastic finale. While Cypher's both a threatening villain who remains comedic in the main villain role, and the whole atmosphere of the world represents this, you can feel the end times with how built up this is. There's a lot of dark material here. First episode showed the Beatles situation with Dipper and Yater Wendy on their own. Gideon's character was redeemed well, and then we get into the bubble, which is partially a distraction to the apocalypse, but has the dark side of the mind when revealed. There's some missed potential here, and I understand how they should address Mabel's selfishness, and how she had a part in causing the apocalypse. Then they find the survivors in the mystery shack, how a mech Balda is great. The cycle wheel is brought up, but doesn't work for another end. You could argue it's a cop-out, but it makes sense you didn't want to mount to this based on how sad it is. The final 10 minutes concludes the main character so well, and Dipper's final speech is very emotional after all this. The show theme and the music adds on to this. This isn't perfect by any means, but I enjoy this so much for everything that it does right. The other monsters do nothing, but that is a good thing as it isn't important and just needs there to be a bigger foe than just Bill. Most characters use well, and it really heightens the stakes. Although I won't forgive it, Queen it's gonna get weird. Bill's final appearance can only be beaten by his first. 6. Dreamscapers. Bill Cypher is summoned by Gideon, and they are both great this episode. The exploration of the mindscape to scan memories is very interesting. The colour choice of grey really sets the atmosphere. I don't have more to say than this was a great penultimate episode of Season 1. 5. Bjendon's Game. This returns Bjendon and has him try to get revenge on Dipper and Mabel. I like the time travel back to Gravity Falls a couple years ago, and the games that we barely see. In reality, this episode is really about Zeus, and this is why he's my favourite character. Hates his birthday, which is 2 days before mine by the way, because it was the moment he realised his father wasn't going to come back. His flashback is sad, and it's the reason Dipper and Mabel agreed to get the time wish. Zeus deciding to use it on them is a great moment to end this amazing episode. 4. Tourist Trapped. It's rare the first episode this high on the list. It introduces the journal and the whole contrast of trust. The known plot was an amazing one to start the show with a yard comedy. And the Empire with standard vending machine hints at a bigger story, but it's not too much that the wait is too long. It only gets expanded on after 19 episodes. Speaking of. 3. Gideon Rises. The best episodes from Season 1 are the first in Yas 2. It has higher stakes without the Mystery Shack, living with Zeus. Dan actually has to send him back, realizing he has no money. This makes Gideon into a villain that's actually threatening. With his want for the journals and the Mecha McGuck is made. If it is tested, faced with realization that the journal might have been all you had all along, in a great season finale. So the final scene must have been so hyped when watching for the first time, with the show theme song during Stan's walk to the portal, which happens in 2. Not What He Seemed, or sometimes the title is The Return of Stan, which either spoiler or could be seen as metaphorical. I'm going to be honest, when I first started seeing this episode top every list, I wondered why. It was a good episode, but why not more story once I could tell 2 Stans or Weirmageddon? The thing is, if you pretend you don't know what happens next, it is really intense. The episode tries to be all happy, but foreshadows something not up. Stan gets arrested and needs to escape, making use of the gravity not falling. Meanwhile, Dipper and Mabel discover that Stan might not be what he seems. Makes you question the character you thought you were watching, motivations, and the trust contrast is debatable. Leaves you to think whether Mabel did the right thing and whether you would trust Stan. When rewatching knowing what Stan's doing, you can see his distress trying to make sure he saves his brother. This feels like an experience once. I can understand what agreed to be the best episode. but I think it was beaten by the episode right before it in the official order. 1. Northwest Mansion Mystery. This is the best, but not for the reasons this episode is usually talked about. Pacifica's redemption is greatly handled, with revealing more information about her and her parents. Dipper's character is also good trying to solve the mystery. Their dynamic is great. I think we know a Pacifica episode after this. It still works fine as execution to her character, and I can understand why Dip Pacifica is such a popular ship. However, that is the main thing to talk about here, and not anything else. There's a plot on Mabel, Cannon, and Glenda that doesn't steal time from the main story, a lot darker, mature concepts, and the villain. Origin of the curse was actually because the rich are too uptight to let the average people in, even when they built their mansion to begin with. There's amazing social commentary, and that is the true mystery of the title. All they need to do was open the gate, and Pacifica ended the cycle of Northwest family in a powerful moment. This handles a complex story, with themes more mature than normally, paired up with a good plot of Dip and Pacifica. That is why Northwest Mansion Mystery is the best Gravity Falls episode. In conclusion, this is an amazing show with all episodes having at least some things to like in it. It works as both episodic comedy and a big mystery story. It's one of the best shows of all time, even 10 years after it started. It's rare the show is as well rounded at anniversary as 10. So I dedicated my second youngest video to it. These still won't be too long to edit. I'm interested in this show, and if it does well, I could make other Gravity Falls videos. There's books that are great at adding more to the story that I could review. So there are aspects that make this a great show. I think Gravity Falls has an undeniable impact, possibly even more than Avatar The Last Airbender. Show that's compared to Yacht Gravity Falls is The Owl House, but yet got its own identity. Season 1 is good, but takes its time to get going, while Season 2 is amazing. Every episode adds on to the yacht, and it's exciting to watch each new episode. How Season 2 ended, I'm very excited for the shortened Season 3, and wish the show got the episode it deserved. I highly recommend watching it, and will probably rank the episode when it's over. If you think this just leans more towards Season 2, well, already Owl House Season 2 is better than half of Season 1. Great show, very interesting characters. It's all I talked about yacht, but it really deserves it. I decided to shoehorn it at the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's a young Ranko episode that I might make more of. The end.